Welcome to our channel UK Visa and Immigration Updates. Many pre-settled holders are asking if they are eligible for EU settled status simply because they've lived in the UK for over 30 months. There seems to be some confusion about whether this period of residence is sufficient to make application for settled status. This video provides the answers and information you're looking for to clear up any confusion. New rules are being implemented that will make it significantly easier for those with pre-settled status under the EU settlement scheme to meet the continuous residence requirements. These new provisions will work in conjunction with the existing absence limits, offering greater flexibility. From the 16th of July 2025, under the provisions of the Statement of Changes HC 836, Annex 1 of Appendix EU is amended, redefining the continuous qualifying period, so that holders of pre-settled status have an additional route to complete the required 5 years continuous residence. EU Settlement Scheme Absence Rules. Under the EU settlement scheme, moving from pre-settled to settled status, or to keeping the status you already hold, requires you to meet the continuous qualifying period test. Continuous residence is built around absence limits, and with effect from the 16th of July 2025, the Home Office now operates two parallel sets of rules. Traditionally, an applicant had to show 5 years in the UK, during which they were absent for no more than 6 months in any rolling 12-month period. A single, longer absence of up to 12 months is tolerated if it was for an important reason, such as pregnancy, serious illness, study, or an overseas work posting. Time spent on Crown service also does not count as an absence. Any break longer than those limits irreversibly stop the 5-year clock, requiring the person to start again, which means you will have to wait another 5 years to apply for settled status. Effective July 16, 2025, Appendix EU introduces an alternative provision, enabling pre-settled status holders to satisfy their 5-year qualifying period through a second method. If, at the point of application, or when the Home Office makes an automatic upgrade, the person can prove they have spent at least 30 months physically present in the UK during the most recent 60-month window, they are treated as having completed 5 years continuous residence, regardless of how the absences were distributed and with no need to justify them. In practice, therefore, someone could spend alternating months in and out of the UK, or take a single break of almost 2.5 years, and still qualify, provided they meet the 30-month UK time threshold. It's important to note that the original 6-month rule remains in effect. Applicants have the flexibility to rely on the test they find easier to satisfy. The 5-year residence period itself is unchanged, so you still need to have moved to the UK at least 5 years before the decision date, unless you qualify under the special ceased activity provisions. The automation system that converts eligible pre-settled holders to settled status is also to be reprogrammed to look for 30 months of national insurance activity anywhere in the 5-year span, but those who can evidence the necessary UK presence are advised to apply manually rather than wait for the system to catch up. Absence rules also govern whether the underlying pre-settled or settled status survives. Since the 21st of May 2024, pre-settled status lapses only after a single, continuous 5-year spell outside the UK. The earlier 2-year limit still applies to anyone who crossed that threshold before the change. Settled status is lost after an unbroken absence of 5 years. Because the new 30-month concession only helps people who still hold valid pre-settled status, anyone whose leave has already lapsed, because they were abroad for 2 years before May 2024, cannot benefit. Case example: Sophie is an EU citizen, has been living in the UK since July 2020, and already has pre-settled status under the EU settlement scheme. Sophie left the UK in January 2022 and returned 2 years later, in January 2024. She is eligible for settled status under the new rules that come into effect from the 16th of July 2025, because the rule says you must be physically present in the UK for at least 30 months out of the 5 years. Sophie arrived in the UK in July 2020 and has spent 36 months, which is more than 30 months. It's crucial to understand that the Home Office retains the power to curtail pre-settled status. This can happen if the holder no longer satisfies either of the absence tests, and their removal is deemed proportionate based on the facts of their case. As such, those who have spent very little time in the UK should not rely on the flexibility of the new rule alone. They must accrue enough UK presence before their status is reviewed. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell button to get timely notification of upcoming videos. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.